Let's be very clear. This is a different kind of war, and the front is right here in New York City.
Now at 6, coronavirus concerns, a sobering message from Mayor DeBlasio. As the city sees a spike in positive cases, his urgent warning for all New Yorkers.
Closed for business. Indoor malls now joining the list of stores shuttered by the coronavirus. How locals are coping with those closures.
And a News 4 exclusive, staying protected on patrol. How the NYPD is making sure their officers stay healthy. Good evening, I'm Chuck Scarborough.
And I'm Natalie Pasquarella. The cases are climbing. The number of people infected with the coronavirus jumping drastically as the testing expands.
And here's where things stand tonight. In the U.S., the number of confirmed coronavirus cases has surpassed 11,000 now. At least 168 have died. In the tri-state, cases have eclipsed the 6,000 mark. And there have been a total of 43 deaths in all 3 states.
Hospitals are bracing for a flood of patients. Governor Cuomo says it may take 45 days to reach the peak of infection, and the state could need more than 2 times the number of hospital beds it currently has. And to curb any further spread, the governor has ordered all businesses to keep at least 75% of their workforces home.
Now, we have our reporters across the tri-state tonight to keep you covered on all the angles of this pandemic. Let's begin with News 4's Andrew Siff, who's down at City Hall. Andrew?
Well, Chuck, first let's pick up with the mayor, who 2 days ago said that within 48 hours he would notify New Yorkers whether or not there would be some type of shelter-in-place order. That now is clearly not going to be the case for 2 reasons. First of all, that's up to Governor Cuomo. And second of all, the mayor acknowledging now that he used language that was probably not as specific. It's more of a recommendation for people, if at all possible, to stay at home. But no matter how you slice it, the news is grim.
We are seeing an explosion in the number of cases here in New York City.
Mayor Bill DeBlasio speaking by video conference from City Hall. We listened in from our car outside, a social distancing media strategy meant to convey in one more way the gravity of the coronavirus crisis. The mayor struggling for something positive to say.
It will go on for months, but it will not go on forever.
The challenge, reducing density, which can contribute to community spread of the virus.
Everybody needs to keep 6 feet, please!
And at schools like this one in Jackson Heights, more people out and about instead of at home. These are parents lined up for math books and laptops. The city promising available technology to every family so online learning can begin. Some left today empty-handed.
Unfortunately, we do not have the technology at this moment.
More than 1 million city school kids stuck in limbo at home.
It's been pretty good, but we're going to have quite a while doing this, so it's going to start to get kind of bored because it's going to just be home all the time.
Governor Cuomo continued to say today there will not be a strict shelter in place for New York City.
It's not going to happen. Well, I hear it is going to happen. I said, but I know, but I would have to do it. And I'm telling you, I'm not doing it.
While the mayor has urged people to stay home, it's not mandatory. The mayor telling all non-essential employees to stay home, but commuters like Alejandro Ramos of the Bronx wonder how much emptier the city can get.
This is a ghost town. I've been living here my whole entire life, and I've never seen nothing like this, ever.
The mayor also spent a considerable amount of time today criticizing the federal government's response and saying there is an urgent need at city hospitals for 15,000 ventilators in the next few weeks, and also millions and millions of surgical masks and gowns. We're live at City Hall. Andrew Siff, News 4 New York.
There is no doubt in my mind, not unscathed, not without mistake, but we will get through this together, stronger than ever before.
Well, some encouraging words from New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy amid the growing number of coronavirus cases. The state now has at least 742 cases, including 9 deaths. And today's announcement of 312 new positive tests comes as we're learning that more young people are contracting this virus. News 4's Chris Glorioso is in Jersey City with a breakdown of these latest numbers for us. Chris.
Well, Natalie, last night the CDC released some information that really challenges a lot of the assumptions people have made about this virus. That information says that 40% of the Americans who have been hospitalized with coronavirus are between the ages of 20 and 54. They are not elderly, and that means medical facilities like Christ Hospital behind me, they are going to have to quickly prepare for a patient population that may not be predictable, and they're going to have to do that right now.
Nobody is coming in on this side, all patients.
Outside Jersey City's Christ Hospital, things have already changed. From now on, anyone entering the emergency room will get screened for COVID-19 with questions and a temperature check.
You go ahead.
There are not enough virus tests here, so most patients with mild symptoms will be sent for isolation at home.
Our idea is that because this virus is so rapidly spreading, is that anybody can have it, and symptoms can be anywhere from non-existent to very severe.
Early in the crisis, it was believed coronavirus hospitalizations would be overwhelmingly seniors with underlying conditions. But new data from the CDC shows people between 20 and 64 years old have hospitalization rates not far behind people 65 and over.
Somebody doesn't understand how serious this is at this point in time. They're just entirely tone deaf.
Jersey City Mayor Stephen Fulop says millennials have been the most reluctant to accept the closings and social distancing that are now ubiquitous in his city.
Who's complaining about parks being closed? Who's complaining about restaurants being closed? Who's complaining about less opportunities to do anything? It's generally a younger population.
Governor Cuomo also expressed frustration after images of college students partying in Florida were widely panned. He implored young adults to stop gathering in groups, not just for the safety of the elderly, but for theirs as well.
These pictures of young people on beaches, these videos of young people saying, "This is my spring break," this is so unintelligent and reckless, I can't even begin to express it.
Although that new CDC data shows a lot of young people being hospitalized with COVID-19, we should point out they do have better hospital outcomes than the elderly. They don't die as often in the hospital, but already we're seeing examples where it doesn't work out that way. One of the new deaths that was announced today in New Jersey was a man in his 30s, and you have to remember the whistleblower doctor in Wuhan, China, who initially pointed out this new virus. He died after treating patients. He was just 34. Chris Glorioso, News 4 New York.
Sobering stuff, Chris. Thank you. A second coronavirus death has been confirmed in Connecticut. According to Governor Ned Lamont, the victim was a 91-year-old New Canaan man being treated at Norwalk Hospital. And as the numbers rise, many businesses across Connecticut are temporarily closing. Take a look at the Sono collection. It's the mall in Norwalk. It looks like a ghost town after Governor Lamont ordered the closure of a number of public gathering spots. News 4's Ken Buffa is in New Canaan right now to tell us how residents are dealing with all of these closures. Ken?
Well, they're trying to adapt mostly. To my right, there's some businesses here with takeout only signs in their windows, and other owners are turning to social media because they're just now trying to keep up with all the changes happening in their state. Malls empty. Playgrounds untouched. A new normal in Connecticut as the state deals with dozens of cases of coronavirus. And now it's second death. A 91-year-old man identified as Bill Pike of New Canaan.
We feel very sad, all over New Canaan, about the loss of Bill, and we are thinking and praying for his family and his wife, Kathy.
The state working with the private sector to step up testing. Malls like these will have to shut their doors until otherwise told starting at 8 o'clock tonight.
Well, we are in this together. We are going to get through this together. And I have been relentless.
It's really quiet.
Yeah.
It's really quiet. I mean, almost everything is closed. There's no place to go.
While most businesses remain dark or readjusted, others are trying to get creative.
You're just going to reach your arms out in front.
Like this Pilates studio preparing to reach members via Facebook Live to relieve some of the homebound stress.
I can feel an underlying anxiety that just of the unknown, not knowing what's going to happen.
While more cases and more changes are expected to come to the state, residents are holding on to hope and obeying new guidelines that are seemingly changing every day.
Hopefully, if everyone heeds the warning and does what they instruct us to do, this will be over sooner rather than later.
Now the governor does have one more change. He is pushing the presidential primary from April 28th to now June 2nd. That is later here in New Canaan. Ken Buffa, News 4 New York.
All right, Ken, thank you. Well, the White House has laid out plans to get cash into the hands of Americans impacted by this pandemic. According to Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, every adult will receive a $1,000 check. Every child will receive $500. Mnuchin is still hammering out the details of the stimulus with lawmakers. But in the meantime, President Trump said the FDA will fast-track antiviral treatments for patients, including one that is used to treat malaria.
I think it's going to be very exciting. I think it could be a game changer, and maybe not. But I think it could be, based on what I see, it could be a game changer.
The FDA commissioner said a clinical trial is needed first.
And now to a News 4 exclusive. The number of first responders falling ill is growing. The NYPD has 20 positive cases, and we're told the fire department has at least 4.
Our Jonathan Dientz was just with the police commissioner who visited the first precinct, which was been hit by the coronavirus. And Jonathan, you're joining us live from there right now.
Yeah, across the city, hundreds of additional sick calls inside the NYPD this week alone. And here at the first precinct, close to 24 additional calls with testing of officers ongoing. The police commissioner visiting precincts like this one to show support and share updated information on the crisis.
How are you?
An elbow bump greeting as the police commissioner arrived to visit the afternoon roll call here.
We'll continue to do really what we do best, keep New Yorkers safe.
Shea says the number of officers falling ill growing. 20 officers and civilians testing positive, hundreds more calling in sick, with some awaiting test results.
20 for 20 are home recovering. Nobody's hospitalized. So that's where we are. Those numbers are going to grow.
Shea says police officers with an NYPD doctor's note can now get tested here at Aqueduct Racetrack, a new drive-through site reserved for first responders. Shea says on top of routine patrols, police now being sent outside schools so children are safe, picking up free meals. Officers are also checking on supermarkets where there have been long lines of shoppers. And they are outside hospitals where a shortage of critical care beds could come with the number of coronavirus patients growing.
We're certainly concerned about that going forward, but I have not heard any stories of insurmountable shortages yet.
Even with the increased sick calls, Shea says the NYPD has plenty of resources to move around to where they're needed most.
We're still out there to fight crime. So even when all this is going on, that's why, again, the message is here today. Pretty simple. Thank you, keep up the good work, and be safe.
With fewer people out on the streets, the police commissioner says there has been a slight dip in crime, with police officers and detectives continuing their work during this crisis. Live outside the first precinct, Jonathan Dientz, News 4.